Morning. I'm Randy Reed, co-founder of the Washington, D.C. Archangels, one of the leading angel investment groups in the United States. I'm here to talk to you about several different programs that we're doing. And then in the second half of this broadcast, I'm going to answer questions that I get frequently from Quora, which is a website for experts on different topics. I'd like to start with talking a little bit about what it takes to be a good investor. And this is something my business partner, Dan and Logue, and I have been analyzing for many, many years. We've been looking at early stage companies since 2011. We've looked at over 800 companies and presented them. We've seen thousands of pitches and companies. And how do investors look at companies? How do they analyze the pitch? How do they analyze a company? So these are very good points, and this is something both entrepreneurs and investors need to learn. And there are three different skill levels that we have found a good investor has. The first skill level is finding good deal flow. That's actually an assumption that a lot of people make when they get into this field, that, oh, it's easy to find companies. But it's actually an important part of the process. You can go down to the local incubator, but remember, about 90% of all technology companies fail. So if you just randomly go around searching for companies, the vast majority of them are going to be failures. You don't want to even look at them. Why waste your time? So how do you filter them out? How do you get to it where you have at least those 10%, maybe some 20% or so, where of course some of them will be failures, but where you have a much higher chance of finding a gem, something that will make money for you as an investor? Well, that comes through a long time of personal relationship building. We only look at companies brought to us through our personal referrals. How do you develop that? Well, that's a skill level. It takes time, and we'd love to talk to you more about that in future programs. The second skill level that we have is how do you analyze the companies? Okay, so suppose you've got 10 companies that were referred to you, or you found them through some process, and you think that they're pretty good companies. How do you analyze them as an investor would? Well, again, this takes a lot of time. We have found that when we teach this to people, if you have analyzed about 50 companies, you start getting pretty good at it. But it takes that many companies before you really start to know what's going on. You find out, first of all, that it's not about the product. Yeah, the product's important, but what you're really looking at is the business. How is this business going to make money for the CEO, the investors, and the board of directors? So that takes a little bit of skill and time, and the more you do it, the faster and easier it becomes. So it doesn't seem that hard. Dan and I can look at a company and do an analysis in just minutes. It really doesn't take that long because you focus in on the weakest points. And if those weakest points are going to break the company, then there's no point in looking at the rest of it. The third skill level we have is, okay, so you found some good companies to look at. You did some company analysis and you found a handful that you're interested in and putting an investment in. Maybe you narrowed it down to one. The third skill level is, well, how do you negotiate the actual investment in there? So if they're asking for $250,000 for investment and you say, well, I've got $100,000. I'd like to put that much money into a company. And you, as an angel investor, would do something like that. If it's a venture capital fund, they would do something similar. So what do you get for that $100,000? Do you get 2% equity, 10% equity? How do you know? How do you negotiate? What do you base that on? Now, you want as much equity as you can get for your investment. The entrepreneur on the other side wants to give you as little investment, as little equity for your investment as possible. So you've got to come to some agreement here after you negotiate that. But here's the catch. You have to be cognizant of any other investors that are going to come in downstream on this deal. If you browbeat them and you get a huge equity investment, let's say you get 8% for that 100,000, okay? Well, that means every other investor coming in later on who puts in 100,000, they're going to want 8% too, because they're going to see what you got. And that chews up a lot of equity very quickly. So you may have negotiated something really good, but you're not going to get any investors later on. This is also very important if there's venture capital coming down the road, because they're going to say, hey, we're putting in $1 million, but you're only going to give us 2 or 3%, or even 8%. Well, these other earlier guys got 8% at just 100,000, and they're going to walk away, and you're not going to get your investment. So you have to think about these things. How do you do it? How do you negotiate these things? These are all skill levels. You can read about them in a book. I can talk to you about this all day long, but that doesn't mean you can actually go out and do it. I teach piano, and I know that there's a lot of online courses on how to learn piano, and you can learn the basics of it. But does that mean you're going to be able to play a Beethoven sonata or a Gershwin tune? Nope. You need real direction, and you need real guidance, and you have to do it. You have to practice this just like anything else. So that's one of the things we do here at the Washington DC Archangels, is we provide you with a lot of these opportunities to learn those skills and put them into practice before you make mistakes. So when you really are time and ready to go for an investment, you know what you're doing. So we hope that will be of interest to you. Please contact us if you want to learn more about that. And what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about some of the questions I get on Quora. If you go to Quora.com, Quora.com, it's a website that purports to be for experts. You put in your expertise on something, and then their algorithm will forward questions to you based on what you know. So I put on there that I have an expertise in early stage companies, innovation, entrepreneurship, investing, that sort of thing. So I found that I've gotten questions from all over the United States and all over the world. I get a lot of questions from China, India, Africa. It's surprising. There's a lot of people who are really interested in entrepreneurship and innovation all over the world, which is really very exciting. But one of the questions I get almost weekly, so I would love to address this as my very first question, is I'm in school and I'm bored, or I've got a job and I hate it. Should I quit my job? Should I quit school and become an entrepreneur? The answer is no. Flat out no. Don't do it. Okay, if you're asking a question like that, you're approaching this whole entrepreneurship from a different angle. It's not a job that you can jump into. You don't quit your job and become an entrepreneur and you get a salary. You don't get something for it right away. Okay, it's something that you have to build over time. And like I say, 90% of all tech companies fail. So you could be having a job where you have a nice, good salary coming in week after week or month after month. But if you quit that and become an entrepreneur, well, you have to put money into the company because you have to rent office space somewhere. You have to buy basic equipment. You have to put together your product. You have to do a lot of work. Well, who's going to pay for that? It's you as the entrepreneur. So instead of getting money every week, you're having to put money into this company. And if your company fails, you will never see that money back. You will never get it back. So I recommend, and I've talked about this with a lot of my friends because they get these questions too. And they say, really complete your job, complete your schooling, get your degree, whether it's high school, secondary school, college, university, get those degrees because at the end of the day, you need to have something to provide income from you. If you don't have that basis, it's really hard to earn a living. So you have to take care of yourself at all times. You can always quit at some point in the future and start your company. But if you don't even have a good idea for a company, then no, do not quit your job. Do not quit school. At the end of the day, entrepreneurship is having a product or service that you produce that other people will pay money for. Now, that may sound easy, but it's not. Think of all the things that you see every single day. In America, we are bombarded with advertising. You can't walk down the street without having some sign or business or retailer wanting you to part money out of your wallet. And 99% of that stuff we ignore because we see it. We walk by those stores. We go through magazines filled with advertising. I don't do anything with those. So how are you going to reach me and get me to pull out money from my wallet to pay you? Really difficult. And if you haven't done it before, you don't know how difficult it is. Just having a great product, just having a great service, just having a great personality is not enough to sell. You need to sell this stuff. So I recommend get some experience under your belt. Get some working knowledge under your experience so that you know a little bit about selling, a little bit about your industry, a little bit about dealing with people, how to keep your expenses less. I think that's the best way to get started. Another question I get on Quora is, what about some great business ideas that you would like to get started that you haven't started? Okay, I like this question because who doesn't like to be flattered for all their ideas? But it does disturb me a little bit. You, as the entrepreneur, need to find your own business ideas. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. Seeing the world in a way that's different from everybody else. Not just seeing it differently, but also seeing that there are needs that are unmet or not being addressed. Now, I can walk down the street and within half an hour, I can come up with a half a dozen things that need to be done that are not done. A lot of them would be unpractical. A lot of them can't make money from them. That's what you start with. Look for what you think is not being addressed by the market in some fashion, okay? Then you look up and see if there's competition. 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, you will find that someone else has come up with the other idea. That's okay. That's actually good. That means you're onto something. That means you have identified a market and that maybe someone's not doing it very well, but other people are doing it. So when you see competition, that's actually a good thing. You can't be totally original all the time. So don't worry about that. But look at the competition and see what they're doing. Maybe they're not doing a very good job. Maybe they've tried something and it failed. Maybe you can do better. Okay, so do a little bit of homework. Once you come up with that idea, then do some homework. Now, in terms of what I think is a good idea, one of the problems we have is waste. We're always throwing something out, right? Garbage is always accumulating. You know, 200 years ago, there was no concept of garbage. People didn't throw anything out. We didn't have an abundance of things, and if we did, you used it. Little piece of string, well, you found a use for it. Any table scraps, you fed them to the pigs or you put them in the compost pile. Everything had a use, so there was no garbage. This is a 20th century phenomenon. And what do we do with garbage most of the time? We bury it in landfills, which is not a very good idea. Long term, we run out of space for that, and it just puts the problem off for future generations. We can burn it, but that produces its own pollution. There are places that try to capture that energy out of burning to generate energy, electricity and heating, and that's fairly successful, but those plants are expensive to build. But we still have this problem of enormous amounts of waste produced every single day in any sort of modern industrialized society. So what do we do with it? Well, my business partner, Dan, has a friend who started a business out in Oklahoma sorting out garbage and recycling garbage. She hires a bunch of women and they literally get garbage from the town. She gets a contract from them. They pay her, the town fathers pay her to take their garbage because otherwise they have to spend money in sorting it out for recyclables and all this sort of stuff and putting in landfills. That costs money. So what she does is she takes that garbage and she sorts through it. And guess what? You can find a lot of valuable things in garbage. You know, how many people have lost a diamond ring? Now, that doesn't happen very often. But they do find a lot of things that are salvageable and can be sold. In fact, she reduces the waste by 80% just by sorting through the garbage. She has a gift shop, so if there's anything that can be sold as is or with a simple repair, they can make money off of it by reselling it. Scrap metal, there's a lot of money in that. Copper, all sorts of things. And then when it comes to rare earth materials, oh, there's money in that. You can sort that out and then resell that. So she makes a ton of money by going through the garbage. She reduces the waste by 80%. Now there's a great opportunity. Now, not long ago, I found an article in the New York Times magazine, their Sunday magazine, which did a fantastic article about my hometown, Buffalo, about these guys who go around picking up scrap metal, like people put an old washing machine on the street or something, and they take that and they cut it up for scrap metal and they make money from it. And then one guy said, you know, they love it when they get an old car because who doesn't love cutting a car in half? So they actually have a lot of fun in their job. And now it's hard work, it's back-breaking work, but they know how to salvage anything. So they make money from it. It's reducing landfill, it's recycling, it's making money. What's bad about all this? It's great. Now the thing is that garbage is not very sexy. You don't get to work in a really wonderful high-rise apartment or condo office. So, but that's all the more reason to get into it. When no one else wants to get into it, that's the opportunity, okay? When everybody's running to one sector and running away from a sector, that's the place you should go. Just like in stocks. When everybody's selling stocks, do you sell your stock? No, you buy stocks. When everybody's buying stocks and the prices are going up high, do you buy stocks? No, that's the time to sell them. Same thing with real estate. It's a simple concept. Buy low, sell high. But the vast majority of people who play the stock market do just the opposite. They sell high and they buy low. Well, I'm sorry, they do the opposite. They're always buying when it's high and selling when it's low. See, even I get confused. So you have to be cognizant of these things. Look for where there's a market on things. So do we have time for one more question? I think we do. So let me just go through one more question that I get sometimes from people. And they want to know, what habits should I adopt so that I can become a successful entrepreneur? Okay, this one I think is so funny, because what people want to know is, what breakfast cereal does Elon Musk eat every morning? And if he eats that breakfast cereal, well, I'll eat that breakfast cereal, and then I'll be just like Elon Musk, and I'll become a billionaire, right? No, it doesn't work that way. There is no formula for being a successful entrepreneur. There's no formula for becoming a brilliant, creative, innovative person. You can copy everything Elon Musk does, or Steve Jobs, or Bill Gates. You can wear the same clothes they do. You can drive the same cars they do. You can go to the same restaurants they go to. You can design your house exactly in the house that they live in, or the house that they grew up in. None of that matters. You can copy everything they do. That's not what entrepreneurship is. That's not what success is. It's not about copying somebody else. Remember what I said, how do you make money? It's by selling a product that other people want. It's not copying the outward appearances of what an entrepreneur is. And it kind of drives me crazy, because I've seen a lot of these books and videos where they follow the most successful entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley for several weeks, and they find out what they do and all their daily habits and all these things, and they put into a book saying, here's the 10 daily habits of the most successful entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. So if you just copy these daily habits, well, you'll be successful too. Well, that's BS. Okay, it's not going to work that way. And if you think there's an easy way to become a successful entrepreneur, please let me know, because I've seen thousands of entrepreneurs, and I haven't seen one of them that's copied anyone to become successful. So you have to find your own path. You have to find your own way. That often includes stumbling and failing, but that's okay. That's all part of the process. So we here at the Washington DC Archangels would love to have you keep working on this. We'd love to have you send questions to us. I'd love to answer them. You can find me on Quora. I'm under Randall Reed. My last name is spelled R-E-A-D-E. We'd love to see you. I think we'll be continuing these with every Tuesday. So please see us, and thank you very much. See you next time.